So, are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah? Are you nervous?
Yes.
Hi y'all, and welcome back to our channel. Today's video is going to be a little different. It's going to be a sit down video. We are going to be doing a Q&A. This is my lovely mother-in-law, Fran. So I have her here. We're gonna answer your guys' questions. I went on Instagram and asked you guys if you guys had any questions for my mother-in-law and I. Today we're just gonna answer it. Nothing's off limits. So you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, are you nervous?
Yes.
All right. I asked Louis, I said, do you have any questions for your mom? And then he goes, yeah, how do I ask them? And I said, well, you have to go on this first one. Fran, what was your first impression when you met Nicole for the first time?
Well, Louis dated a lot of girls, but he did not bring them home. He did not want me to meet them. Very, very rare did I even get to meet a girl he was dating. Even the girl for the prom, it was kind of like, please let me take a picture. He didn't even want a picture. So when he brought Nicole home, I said, uh-oh, this is the one.
Aww. And then what did you think of me?
And I thought she was beautiful and sweet.
Aww.
She was outgoing and friendly, and I was like, yes.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yes, I was one of the only ones that got to come home and meet Fran and Leroy and the whole gang. It's been a blessing ever since. Was Louis raised in a Christian home?
Yes. We read the Bible to him numerous times. We prayed every day, every night, and we went to church regularly. But one of the things that we felt is we wanted him to be a good citizen on this earth so that he could be a good citizen in heaven.
You guys will see in the vlogs, a lot of times I'll put on there of us praying before we eat or us praying when the kids go to bed. Obviously, Louis was raised Christian. I never went to church, only for Christmas, like Christmas Eve with my grandparents. So it was interesting when Louis and I became like a family with our kids, what we were gonna do with our children. And I feel like as Fran and Leroy have moved in, they've brought a little bit more of Jesus into our life. And so the kids love to pray. They love, especially Cassidy. She loves to bring her Bible everywhere. I feel like Cassidy's gonna follow in like Grandma's footsteps. She's a lot like Grandma. Do you have any questions for us, babe?
What are you guys doing? You guys talking about me?
Yeah.
No, she's interviewing.
Do you have any questions for your mom and I?
No?
No?
You're good. I got nothing. Trying to think of something real quick.
She goes, Liz dated a lot of women, but but he didn't bring them home.
You never let us meet them. You never let us meet them. So I was telling her how when you brought her home, I knew this had to be the one.
Nicole was the first girl I ever said, I love you to.
I know.
Aww.
Yeah. Louis was the first person that he's ever said I love you to.
No,
Wait,
that's you are.
I was the first person that he ever said I love you to. And I'll be the last because I'll find him. Trust me, I'll find him. Are your in-laws living with you definitely, or is this a temporary arrangement? We've gotten this a lot. Along with that was, why did they move to Texas? Well, Fran and Leroy have been wanting to move to Texas for how many years?
Ever since our kids moved out here, we wanted to be with our kids.
So we moved out here 11 years ago. Nick and Angel, which is my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, they moved out here about 5 years ago. Fran and Leroy moved to California for Leroy's job. Leroy's job transfers him a lot. And so they've moved a lot of times throughout their life. Where have you lived?
Yes, we lived in Arizona, New Mexico, Alaska, Michigan, California, back to New Mexico, and now Texas.
So they've moved a lot. Ever since the whole family has been out here, they've wanted to move out here for the last like 5 years. Well, the position that Leroy has within his company, one in every state. And so for them to get to Texas has been hard, has been really hard. Finally, a job opportunity opened up and Leroy now gets to work out of Texas. He goes to Arkansas, Oklahoma, Lubbock, a lot of places. So he travels throughout the week, which he traveled a lot in general already. Yeah, she used to be alone, but now she has us when Leroy leaves out of town, so.
I'm never bored.
Yeah. So when they moved here, they had a house in California and they needed to sell that house, obviously, because they weren't gonna live there. The house was on the market for a couple months. Then they decided, you know what, we're gonna make it an investment property, rent it out, because the market in California is kind of going down and they just didn't want to give their house away. It was a beautiful house, beautiful house. So they rented it out, and that was just recently. Obviously, they weren't gonna like buy a house with having another house. So they moved in with us, and we've loved it so much that I don't think we could let them go. I don't know, do you wanna leave?
It's been really special. I wanted to spend time with my kids and my grandkids, and it has given us that opportunity to just spend time with them, a lot of time, and I'm never bored. And just before we left, I lost my dog, who was my little companion.
Yeah,
like
Cisco.
My baby, Cisco. So it was so hard on me. I just was so lonely, but now I've got the...
No, she's never lonely. Now she wants to be lonely.
I'm never bored one moment of the day, ever. It's wonderful.
So yeah, we don't know what the future holds, but for right now, it's working out. Fran and Leroy moved in. First, they were down here in our guest room down here, but the space, it's like a square instead of a rectangle. The boys' room upstairs is a huge room. The layout just worked out a lot better. And so they moved up there, and it's kind of not attached to anything, so it feels like their own little...
Feels like a little apartment.
Yeah, a little apartment, high-rise, because they're up. So yeah, we don't know if they'll be here for good, and Leroy's telling us he's leaving.
Leroy, do you have anything you want to say?
Do you have any questions for us?
Any questions for us?
Or people want to know how you like living here.
We love it. We love being with our grandchildren and our stepdaughter. Now, Nicole's been very accommodating, wonderful to live with. I don't know how a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law could get along so well. They're like two
She's like
peas
my
in a
best
pod.
friend.
They're doing good. They're like best friends.
I know.
The only downfall to this is that now it's like I'm married to two people and I have two women telling me what to do. That's the only downfall. I got a honey-do list from two. So no, it's not boring here. It's busy, but it's fun. It's been great. And we haven't started smelling like fish, 3-day-old fish. So we're doing good.
No.
We enjoy it.
Are you gonna get an oil change?
Yes. Bye. Enjoy.
Bye. They don't smell like fish. They actually are quite clean. And speaking of that, has there been any issues with there being two mama hens under one roof?
Oh man, the kids can't get away with anything, and the boys have two women bossing them, so nobody's getting away with anything.
No, it's actually better in my opinion because, you know, especially when you have a lot of children, Louis works a lot. They could get away with things with just me, you know, because I'm trying to referee 4 kids. Now it's like 2 on 2 that they can't get away with anything nowadays. Not at all. And then, I don't know, I just feel like there's more love in the house. Our house was already filled with love, but I feel like no one loves your children more. What?
Their
Where's the
grandparents.
Oh, to the car?
Car key.
On my desk? Oh, where are you leaving?
No, I'm moving to that dark horse.
Oh, no one loves your children more than you do besides their grandparents. So the love that my kids feel now is like times 10. With there being 2 mamas, it's just 2 more adults to love my children, care for my children, to help out. I mean,
Yeah.
we have strong personalities, Fran and I, so a lot of people are like, oh, how can you deal with having 2 people with strong personalities? But we're kind of one of the same.
Yeah, we're very much alike.
I think that's why we get along so well, and like Leroy said, it's like he's married to 2 women because I'm like a splitting image of Fran. And they do say that guys tend to marry women like their mother,
Yeah. You make me cry.
and he definitely married somebody that was exactly like his mom, just a little heavier and blonde, but a little taller, but
A little lighter.
yeah, a lot lighter.
Well, I feel like we are very much alike. It's amazing. The things that bother her bother me. So it's great. And if we have something that's bothering us, we talk about it. We always communicate, which is very great. Nicole doesn't hold anything back, and I don't hold anything back. We talk about it, and we communicate. And there's been a few issues that we had to discuss, but honestly, for the most part, I think we're very much similar in raising kids and in cleaning house and how we like things done, how we like things neat. Yeah.
And the guy's Louis is just like his father, so she knows how to deal with Leroy the same way I know how to deal with Louis, so I've gotten some pointers off of her. Yeah, I think it's just really having open communication with one another. You can't hold anything back. You can't let it stay inside of you where it eats you apart, where you're like mad at a person because of something. Any issues we've had, we've always, they obviously aren't like huge issues, but like you're molding 2 families together basically, because we have never lived around family for one, and now we have family living with us. It's just having open communication, not letting things get to you, and also having an open mind. Just because you have lived some way your whole entire life, or ever since you've moved out, you have to realize when people do come and stay with you or come and live with you, they've lived their, I mean, Fran's lived her life for 65 years, that obviously she's set in her ways sometimes, so you have to be adaptable in scenarios like this.
I think accepting is the key factor. You have to accept people the way they are, not expect people to change us or anything like that. And Nicole's been very accepting of Lee and I. I mean, we're set in our ways, let's face it.
Yeah, I
We're
think,
old,
yeah.
grumpy little people.
Leroy, not Fran. I'm just kidding. He's not grumpy.
We laugh a lot. We play cards a lot. We do a lot of activities. We walk a lot in the night. So we are good companions to each other because Lee's always traveled. Louie's just always been so busy.
Being a stay-at-home mom, the reason why I started doing Unique and all of those things was because I wanted to meet mom friends. I needed mom friends. Sometimes, like I've said before, you get lonely as a mom because all you're doing is talking baby talk or getting on to kids all day. You don't have that interaction with adults. Louis may work from home, but I don't always get to talk to him because he's working. I don't want to, distract him. And so it does get lonely sometimes. And now I have like a built-in best friend. You love having a best friend. Then they live with you and we have so much fun together. We love to go shopping. We love to play cards. We like to organize. We love to cook.
Clean together.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun.
You get things done a whole hell of a lot faster when you
play
have
cards.
Yeah. We have this thing. We work all day until 3 o'clock, and then come 3 o'clock, which if it's after 3 o'clock,
We're done.
then lazy girl is working overtime. And yeah, we work every day until 3, and then the kids get home at that time around 2:40. Then we just can play cards with the kids, feed the kids, go on walks, do stuff like that. So it's been good. How do you feel about us sending our kids to public school since Louis was
Yeah,
homeschooled?
Louis was homeschooled, and then the kids, then he went to the Christian school, both boys. But I have to say, I've gone to this school, and it is a marvelous school. The teachers are friendly and loving. The school has fabulous programs. The curriculum is great. The kids are already, our little kindergartners are learning how to read. Tatum is an avid reader and writer in math and science. This is a fabulous school, and we did find out that a lot of people move in this territory because the school system is just top of the line. I'll be very honest with you, I was very disappointed in the Christian schools the boys went to. Despite the fact that we thought it was supposed to be a better school, it wasn't. The curriculum was very poor. The teachers were not very good teachers. Not all of them. Some were fabulous, but for the most part, very disappointed. And I actually pulled my kids out of school and homeschooled them again. So, to be honest with you, I love the school system here, and we're very involved in the school. Every time anything's going on, we walk there, we bring them home. We're very involved in their little tiger track every Friday. We try to go to that. They have so many little wonderful veteran parades, and I don't get to go to everything, but I'll tell you, Louie and Nicole are very involved, and they're always there for their kids, which I think everybody should be.
You know, Louis being homeschooled, he wanted that for our kids, and I agree with it. I think in some situations, your kids should be homeschooled if, you know, the school district you live in isn't the greatest. There's factors that can contribute to if your children need to be homeschooled or not. If they're, you know, having difficulties learning in the school, there's too many kids. So I think it varies in households. They traveled a lot when they were with Leroy.
Lee traveled a lot. He was gone most of the week. He'd come home on the weekends. With me homeschooling, I was able to take the kids, their books in the car, and we would stay in a hotel so I could homeschool them there. And we did a lot of field trips because my husband dealt with hospitals, so they allowed us to go into the lab. The kids got to do a lot of like special field trips that I think most kids don't get to do.
Exactly. Like during the weeks, you can't really take your kids out of school. You get in trouble if you take them out for a certain period of time. For them, that's what worked. For us, we live here. We lived super close to the school. It's a great school. We tried it out with Tatum his first year. We absolutely fell in love with it. Then Louis wanted to homeschool him to see how it went. I said, well, we need to do it now. I'd rather do it with one kid in case we mess up. At least it's only with one kid for 1 year. Found out with our lifestyle and schedule with Louis working from home, it was hard to have all 4 kids here all the time with him working here. Tatum loves school, so he was excited to go back. And now the twins love school, so I think it varies. I think our decision obviously was our decision, but with Fran coming here and seeing how the school is.
It's a nice school.
Yeah, it's awesome. We love it. We love our school. Okay, what is your advice to other mother-in-laws?
Well, I have the greatest mother-in-law in the world, Margaret Baca. She is absolutely the best example of a mother-in-law that you could possibly have. She's never been demanding, judgmental. She's always been kind, accepting, forgiving, loving. I've never heard a negative thing come out of her mouth. And so I have tried to replicate my mother-in-law because I just love her so much. In fact, we're getting ready to go down to New Mexico to see her. And I just can't wait. She's so wonderful. Not just outside, inside her heart. She loves everybody unconditionally, no matter what. Even if she doesn't accept their lifestyle or what they're doing, she still loves them. And that's been a fabulous example to me that I need to be that way. You know, sometimes we don't always agree with people or situations or whatever, but my mother-in-law has always been there for us, and that's what I want to be for my children and my grandchildren. She was always there. If we asked her anything, it was never negative. In fact, she was just thrilled. So I guess that's my opinion. Okay, so I guess to answer the question, if you are a mother-in-law out there, love no matter what, unconditionally, that agape love, that's a special kind of love that is no matter what, you accept, you love, you help, you're there for them, and you don't judge.
So let's say, for instance, somebody doesn't get along with their daughter-in-law.
And it could be that maybe they're not accepting their daughter-in-law, maybe their daughter-in-law's not like them, and that's easy to understand because we're all different people. So what we have to just understand is we're all different. We have different cultures, different nationalities. We're raised differently, different religions. So some of those things are factors that make us the way we are. So we have to just try to be understanding and try to be loving no matter what, and just be there. And, you know, sometimes we have to back away and just be understanding. One of the things that I can honestly say is love unconditionally. Just even if you don't accept everything, or people don't meet up to your expectations. And sometimes we're going to be disappointed. I'm not going to lie. There's going to be times when, our kids or daughter-in-laws or somebody will hurt us, but you just have to be accepting and loving and understanding. We don't understand what caused them to be. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe, PMS. Maybe this is the way they were raised, or they weren't raised, certain ways. So I think the best thing we could do is just try to be understanding, even though we don't understand everything, just try to accept it. I always pray for situations that are uncomfortable. So I hope that helps you.
You didn't choose who your son marries, right? In a mother daughter-in-law type situation. She didn't choose for Louis to marry me. He decided to marry me. So sometimes in that situation, you have to be understanding and accepting, because at the end of the day, that's who your son has to put up with. You know what I mean?
Or even your daughter-in-law.
You chose to marry him. Well, he comes with his parents. She comes with her parent. It's just blending families together. In my situation, the same way, you have to understand the man that you're in love with, your husband, was raised by that woman. You know what I mean? And so you love your husband so much. Well, that's who raised him. So you have to give her the benefit of the doubt and love her, because she's the one who made him that way. Louis is who he is because of his parents. And I received a lot of things on here saying, what did Fran do to raise such an amazing man? And it's true. Louis is, and I'm sure he's listening to us right now. His head is really, really big. But
I can't fit through this door.
oh, he can't fit through the double doors.
Can't fit through the double door.
But it is true. You are who your mama raised you to be. A lot of the things that we do around our household are what my kids are gonna have instilled in them when they're older. And that's why I've loved having Fran and Leroy live here, because I have memories with my grandparents, and I couldn't even imagine if I was able to live with them and truly get to know who they are and have those memories. So the things that we're teaching my kids are going to be instilled with them, that when they get married and they have in-laws, that they'll see our relationship and know that it's a beautiful thing.
Or maybe that we will be examples
to that even though we may have an argument because my cabinets are getting ruined. But knowing that they see that their grandma was so level-headed and came in and stepped right in, and that they can use those values in that situation. So as a daughter-in-law to a mother-in-law, you just have to accept and love. You may not get along, and that's okay. Not everyone gets along. Personalities clash. I think when you find a mother-in-law that's so much like you, that it's easier to get along, because I'm sure if Fran and I had different personalities and they didn't clash so well, maybe living together wouldn't be the best thing. It wouldn't be healthy, but because of our situation, it's healthy.
Well, one thing that I know for sure, that you really need to love somebody. If you love somebody, then you accept them the way they are. You don't expect people to change. If you really love them, you accept them just the way they are. That's a key factor. That's what I have to say about my mother-in-law. She's just been adorable to some people.
She's awesome.
Yeah, some people that I'd be so mad at, and she's so loving. And I have a wonderful husband that is a prime example of a great upbringing. So she's been just a fabulous example. And my mom was a good example. She raised 10 kids. It was rough. But my mother-in-law has been so special to me.
You both always seem to laugh and enjoy time with each other.
We do.
Are there off moments?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still get my period every month, so she knows 1 week out of the month I'm gonna be a little grouchier. I mean, lack of sleep can contribute to that. I mean, you just have to.
Well, sometimes we have to explain ourselves too. I feel kind of weird sometimes reprimanding the kids, and I always try to say, go ask your mom, go ask your dad, go ask your mom, because I try not to be their mom. I'm not their mom, I'm their grandma. But sometimes, like, I have to explain myself because the kids can be a little bit naughty and do things when their mama and daddy are not looking, and we're like the other eyes. I have to say that sometimes we have to explain ourselves so that they could understand why we're putting their kids in timeout or whatever.
Because a lot of times when you send your kids to the grandparents' house, grandparents give the kids sugar, let them stay up till bedtime, which is great every now and then. Now that they live with us, obviously the kids can't do that every day. So the kids have realized that, okay, they're not going to get away with that all the time. They will try to go to Fran and ask her for it, but she's always so awesome with saying, like, if she knows, like, sometimes she'll tell if I'll be okay with it that day, that she'll just give it to them. But on days that she's thinking, okay, maybe it's not the best idea, maybe she feels like it's not the best idea, so then she'll go and say, go ask your mom.
One thing that I learned from Nicole is that she has a great way of negotiating with the kids. We were, just to give you an example, we were at Target last night or the night before. We took the boys with us.
Oh, that was last night.
Oh, was that last night?
Yeah.
Oh, last night. Losing track. Little Camden was like a fireball in there, just running and then making the baby run because the baby will copy everything he sees them do. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. She's like, okay, Camden, when we go home.
Well, they had $5 to spend.
Oh yeah, they had $5 to spend because they won $5. She says, all right, you need to put your toys back that you got. And he goes, no, I want my toys. And he started kind of, getting carried away. She goes, okay, but when we go home, we're going to discuss this and you're not going to be able to play with your toys. We're going to have to put them up. And I'm like, oh, I would take those toys away. But she was very patient. I didn't say anything. I just listened. When we got home, he was wanting to play his toys, and they have this nickel thing. They're going to go to Nickel-Rama this weekend, and they all get so many nickels to be able to play all the games. So they have them in this jar, and she says, well, I'm going to give you a choice. You either lose all of your nickels, and you can't play at Nickel-Rama, or you can play with your toys. And every day they get fresh nickels, and it's kind of
we'll do another video on doing it with 4 children and disciplining and stuff like that, because a lot of times it's hard to follow through. It's hard to figure out what works for your family and what works for your kids, because a lot of times if they don't care that you're going to take away their toys, they're just going to do it because they don't care that you took away that toy. So you have to find out where it hurts. Yeah. And we found this new system, and it's with nickels, and we'll go into it. Louis and I, maybe we'll make a video while we're gone.
It's good.
Because it's been working. A lot of times when you go into places, especially a public place, and your kids are being very defiant, it's hard to, one, discipline them in public because you're judged nowadays all the time. A lot of people don't know the backstory. They don't know what happened or transpired, that, you kind of pick your battles out in public. So he was being defiant, and he was saying he was getting his toys, he was not putting them back. Instead of arguing with him, I knew it was his money that he had won, so I wasn't gonna say, okay, you gotta give me the $5. So I said, okay, you can buy it with the $5, but when we get home, you're not allowed to play with them right away. You have to wait until tomorrow. And when we got home, he was very defiant again that he was gonna have those toys. So that's when I said, they get 30 coins a day, 30 nickels a day. I told him he had to give me all 30 of his nickels. At the end of the week, we take the kids to Nickel-Rama, where whatever nickels they have left, they can play these games. And he got 30 taken away, which is gonna hurt him because he's gonna have way less. The toys meant a lot to him, so it may have not hurt him right then and there, but it will. And so that's kind of the negotiating sense of it.
Every Saturday, when my boys were young, we would rent a video, one of their something favorite that they really wanted to see. If my boys were acting up, I'd say, okay, if you don't stop, you're not going to be able to watch. We'd have popcorn, and we'd play games, and we'd watch a video. It was our play date night. I go, you're not going to be able to watch the video. And I remember that one time Louis missed watching, and it was hard. He was in his room screaming at us and crying, please spank me, I want to see the video. We're like, no, go to your room, you can't watch it, you can't play games tonight. He cried himself to sleep, but he learned that when we're serious, when you're being naughty, you're gonna have something taken away. Because when I'd spank him, he used to tell me, that doesn't hurt. And so, you don't want to keep spanking the kids, and especially in public, because people are thinking you're abusing your children.
And now the society we live in nowadays, it's a little bit more, everybody has different parenting. A lot of times with, you know, CPS and all of that, you really can't spank your children anymore. You try not to do it in public.
But she's a great, like I was saying, she's a great negotiator. She'll say, okay, well, you could either do this or you go to bed. You could either obey mommy and sit down and eat your food, or you just go to your room.
And you won't have dinner.
Or you won't have dinner. So she's a good negotiator. That's one thing I've really learned from her. So like if we're watching the kids, I've learned to negotiate with them because it works fabulous.
For instance, if Sissy wants to play the iPad.
Yeah, we tell them, okay, if you want to play the iPad first, you have to get your bed fixed, you have to brush your teeth, comb your hair, get your clothes on,
and then you'll get 5 minutes. You have to agree with me that 5 minutes is gonna be okay, or 10 minutes is gonna be okay, and you kind of have to have them say to you like, okay, I agree to it, and then that way when they're fighting about it,
yeah, we rotate the iPad with the kids, but it works so good because now, man, they run to their room, they'll fix their bed, they put their toys with, they clean up their room, they'll brush their teeth. So I've really learned a better way of negotiating. I think I probably would be a better mom now if I had to do it all over again because of negotiating.
Well, you learn different techniques from each other. Food, for instance. My kids used to never be picky. They would eat anything, and then they got picky. Louis said, well, when my mom used to make food, I either ate it or that's the meal I had for the next meal. And so I implemented that with my kids. You don't eat that, that's gonna be your next meal. Or you don't eat anything at all. Because I'm not gonna sit here and make you, there's 8 of us in the family. Yeah. You can't just have mac and cheese every night. Or we're not gonna make this huge, beautiful meal and then you want
bread
or cereal, you know? So we've taken each other's parenting skills and, you know, bounced ideas off of each other and found what works, because no kid's the same, no household's the same. There's no manual to tell us how to parent.
And every kid is so different too, so you have to figure out what's going to work for your kids. Last year it was naughty or nice.
Yeah, last year when Santa was coming, it was naughty or nice. Now this year they could care less about naughty or nice. The elf is not even working. They really don't even. It's just more work for me. Did you guys win at bingo? Someone said.
Yes.
Yeah, we won $1. Louis told us, you women better not come home
unless you win.
And I won $1 on the pool. Someone said.
We've been so close though.
Yeah, so close. I was 1 off, and then 2 off, and then she was 1 off. And guys, the pot was like $700. Like it would have been a nice little around the holidays.
It was fun.
Someone said, tell her Brittany and Marlena from Lake Forest Police Services miss her.
Oh, yes, I love them. They're my friends at the police.
Did I say Marlena?
Oh,
yeah, they said hi.
When I was volunteering at the Sheriff's Department, there were some of the friends that I met there. Such sweet people. I love them, and I do miss them all. And all of my volunteer friends. So if you're watching, hello from Murphy, Texas. Mwah.
I know when I saw that last night, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get a reaction.
Yeah, they're my friends. Oh, that's cool.
Has your guys' relationship always been good? I know for some it starts off rocky. I think our relationship's always been great.
It has. It really has.
Always. Even living long distance away from each other, we used to go and visit them all the time.
I remember when they got engaged, Nicole called me just screaming and crying. And so I was screaming and crying. And so
I was so excited. I wanted to be engaged to Louis for so long. I could have probably married him the first year that we got together. He made me wait, and we waited 3 years, and I was so excited to marry Louis, and I knew I was marrying into a great family, a great extended family, because all of her, you know, brothers and sisters are so sweet, and Leroy's brother and sisters are so sweet, and it's just a really nice family to be married into. Everybody in your families have just been,
for the most part, we all love each other and get along really
There's just so much love. They all love to play games and
we're gamers.
Yeah, they're gamers. This one says long. I've always thought this to myself and have wished I could ask her. Okay, let's see what it says.
Ask me?
Yeah.
Oh.
What are some specific things she remembers implementing in Louis' life? He seems like such a well-rounded man, loving towards his wife and a gentle father. I have one baby. He's 1 year old, and I have him watch some of your videos to see the kids. The one Louis is in, I always want him to see that because he's such an example of what a man should be. Oh, that was sweet.
That's very sweet.
So what are some things you implemented into Louis' life?
Well, what I want to share with you is that I always felt that children, it's always gimme, gimme, gimme. So I wanted my children to learn how to give. So every week we would take a walk. We had a nursing home right by our house. It was a couple blocks away. We'd walk there, maybe sometimes a couple times a week. We'd bake cookies. Dominic played the guitar. We would go over there and we would pass out cookies. We'd pass out candy if they would allow us to. Most of the elderly people are very underweight and they need something because they don't eat much. So they were very happy that we would bring them cookies and candy as long as they weren't diabetics. The boys would go say hi to everybody. They would shake their hand. For Halloween, before we could go out for Halloween to get candy, they had to go to the nursing home. I would dress them up as little angels. I made their costumes. And the boys would go to the nursing home, and we actually had adopted a little man named Pedro. We would go visit him all the time, and the boys would wheel him in this wheelchair, and they'd play guitar music and they'd sing Christmas carols to the older people. We had a clown ministry. We'd bring all of our clowns to the nursing homes, to the hospital. I always taught my boys that it was important to give of themselves, and I think that they learned at a young age that it wasn't just about gimme, gimme, gimme all the time. It's about giving love to people and cheer. They would hug these older people. They would shake their hands if they were afraid of them, because some of them had tubes all over, and they just learned to be so loving and giving. If we had new neighbors that would come in, I would bake bread or a cake, or if I didn't have time, we'd go buy one, and the boys and I would go welcome into the neighborhood and we'd bring them a little gift. So I think at a very young age, our boys learned that it was about learning to love other people, giving of themselves. Even if it wasn't giving food or candy, they would be singing to them, taught them how to mime. We had a lot of fun, and I think the major...
Or helping out with Pedro. They
helped Pedro. They loved him. He was like their grandpa. And they would, we would clean his glasses, and we would shave him, and we would wash his face, and we would take him all around. And believe it or not, he didn't speak English. He only spoke Spanish. So we would try to speak to him. It was so funny, but we loved him so much. When he passed away, we had always said, when he passes, please let us know. We want to go to the funeral. We want to be there. In fact, we wanted to adopt him. We were getting ready to move to Arizona at the time, and I went to talk to Lee about asking them if they would let us have Pedro to move with us to Arizona. And it's so funny. We prayed about it, and we talked to the people, and it turned out that he died just before we left. And so I think that was God's answer. But they loved Pedro, and the boys were so sad that their grandpa had died.
I really think that had a huge
impact
on the boys' life, because they are very selfless men.
Yeah.
They don't think about themselves. They don't go out and buy themselves flashy things. They're always about helping everyone else. And Louis does that in his line of work. I mean, he'll help people that are not able to buy a home, just to give them advice and encouraging to them and helpful. And Dominic's the same way. He's very funny, and he's just like Louis, and he doesn't expect anything from anyone. He just gives so much love and compassion towards people and doesn't expect anything in return.
Yeah, I remember one time when Louis' car wouldn't start and he had to get to work, so he knocked at the neighbor's door. He goes, "Can you please give me a jump? My parents aren't home," and the guy gave him a jump. Well, that night when he got home, he bought him, I think it was two cakes, because he didn't know what kind he liked. So he said, well, if he doesn't like this one, he'll like this one for sure. So he wanted to thank him because he was so kind. Yeah, that's one of the things that I really taught my boys. I would recommend that. Kids need to learn to give of themselves. They do.
Because they're not really taught that when they're living in a household that is always, in the world we live in today, it's the hustle and bustle. You get set in your ways on always being busy or always doing things, but, giving back, doing that, or going to feed the homeless, letting your kids see the less fortunate, to make them realize that you're, I don't want to say lucky to have these things, but you should be thankful and know that it's somebody's hard work.
And it just helped them to understand that how fortunate they were, really.
Yeah. My mother-in-law doesn't respect me as a stay-at-home mom. What can I do to change that? That'll be our last question.
That's a hard one, because I got to tell you, my mother believed in careers, and My sisters, my family did. And when I chose to quit my job with the telephone company and be a stay-at-home mom, I did not get their support. And when I chose to homeschool my kids, I certainly didn't get anybody's support at all. But I felt like I was doing the right things for my boys. I wanted to raise them. I originally started, I was working and I started having Dominic, a girl was taking care of him. I would always bring him and she'd say, well, just put him on the couch there, and she'd have the TV on. But when I would come and pick him up, he'd be in the same place with the TV on all day long, 8 hours. And I told my husband, that is unacceptable. I don't want my kids being in front of a TV for 8 hours a day. I want my boys to be out in fresh air and learning and having someone love them and teach them, and I was not happy. So I chose to quit my job, and it was a very prestigious job. My mother was not happy with it because she wanted me to be a career person. I said, oh well, you can't make everybody happy, and I'm not about to make everybody happy. Your children come first, your grandchildren come first, your kids come first. It's not about making everybody else happy. I don't care if your mother-in-law doesn't care about you being a housewife. There's nothing wrong with it. That is the best career in the entire world, is to raise your children yourself. Teach them all the practical skills, how to fix their bed, how to brush their teeth, how to say kind things, how to say please and thank you. Those things are taught. And a lot of parents are out there, and I know they have to work. I'm not criticizing people that have to work.
But if you have the ability to,
if you can stay home with your kids, bonus. I think it's a very special job. There's nothing like it in the world.
It's a short time of life. It goes by so fast. I mean, Tatum's about to be 8 years old. I can't believe I've almost been a mom for 8 years. It goes by so fast, and if you have the ability to do those things, I'm sure when my kids all are of age and all in school, you know, I'll probably get a part-time job to do something.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there are days that you have tough days because...
And she would volunteer, you know, after the boys moved out, and you did go back to work.
I did go back to work once the boys were pretty much in school. I still tried to be there for them after school. I tried to get jobs that I could still focus on my boys. And
that's how I grew up. My mom worked part-time when we were in school, so she would get off right when we got out of school so she could pick us up, and she would be there with us for the rest of the day. And once we all graduated, she went back full-time. But
I gotta tell you, my parents did notice, like, we went over their house, and they lived in Michigan, we lived in New Mexico at the time, and so she said, oh, here's an ice cream. Well, my boys knew that they had to ask me for sugar stuff because it was very important for me not to let them eat a lot of junk food. So they looked at me and they go, Mommy, can we have one? And I said, you can have one. So they had an ice cream. So then my mom pulls out another one. Here, don't look at your mom. Don't look at your mom. You can have anything you want. And they looked at me and I said, mm-mm. They said, no, thank you, Grandma. No, thank you. She was so impressed with that because they listened to me and not her, that she was trying to give them another popsicle. Never said another word. I just shook my head like that. That's it. I didn't even say, mm-mm. I just, you know, my boys knew that they had one, that was enough, and they were very polite, and they said, no, thank you, Grandma, we're good. So she was very impressed with that. So if you are a mom, a stay-at-home mom, and you're teaching your children, people will notice the difference. They will definitely notice. It is a fabulous job. Kudos to you.
That was our last question. I hope this helped you guys, and I hoped it made you hopefully see a little bit into our relationship and what it's like living together with your mother-in-law. It's not always the easiest. In our situation it is, I feel like. In other people's situations, sometimes I feel like it could be a little difficult. Just be understanding and know that anything is possible. You don't have to live with your mother-in-law. If we didn't get along, we wouldn't live together. We've enjoyed this time, and you know, the reason why we document these moments are for you guys to see, but also for our children to see. And one day my kids will look back at this and see the way their grandma raised their daddy and see how our relationship was, because I want my kids to know that the legacy we're leaving them, because we're only here for a short period of time. Why not enjoy it and make these memories? So thank you, Franny, so much for being on here. I love my mother-in-law.
We hope we've helped you
in
some way. And thank you for all your questions. They were really good questions.
We love you guys, and we'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye, guys.
One eternity later.
I did have a couple more questions, so I figured we would just answer them right now. Why do you wear gloves when you cook? sanitary purposes, guys. And then the last one, if there is ever an argument, does she pick Louis's side or does she go with Nicole's side? You answer that one, Franny. Do you pick my side or Louis's?
It's always about Nicole. Louie and Lee are always wrong.
It's truthfully just, she's really level-headed, so she knows who's right, and who's usually right is me. The guys are usually wrong.